Hello, audiences. Welcome to my podcast show, Reality Unscripted. Thank you again for joining this second episode, and looking forward to discussing where we left off at on my very first one. Hopefully you're all having a good week, and looking forward to the weekend coming up. Whatever you do, hopefully it's going to be one that you enjoy, and always be remembering that take care of yourselves and your health as well. All right. And also always stay curious, as I do believe that this is one of the main functions that we operate here in the whole universe. One of the purposes of life is to be curious, because as I mentioned on the very first episode, simulation theory has evolved single-cell organisms to multi-cell organisms. And I do believe that there is a reason why consciousness plays a role in that. I do believe that the more information is pure and knowledgeable, or vice versa for everybody, you actually help the system thrive. Now, let's go into it. One thing I also wanted to mention is, I know I referenced Nick Bostrom on the very first episode of Minds, but I was actually saving the next individual, which, if you have not heard already, is also a very good individual to reference, or a phenomenal individual to reference, because this individual really has data. He's a well-known physicist. He's been involved in the slit experiment, which, not explained in this episode, I will explain at some point in time on the episodes following. This individual's name is Tom Campbell. And for those of you who are not aware of this individual, very well known, or he's a very well-known physicist, and he's worked on a lot of big experiments, slit experiment being one of them. And he has a lot of data to back up simulation theory and how it ties down to what the role would be in the whole scheme of the universe. And I do believe that it's worth checking out if you're also looking for deeper answers, because my understanding, unlike the other scientists or physicists that go into this topic, if you look in his piece of work, and many individuals who talk about these things will reference Tom Campbell, not all though, but many of them do. He's got a book called My Big Toe, which is my big theory of everything. I have not read his book yet, but you really don't need to. He's got enough online material without even having to read the book, and podcast shows on well-known sites like YouTube and whatnot. You won't have any issues getting his free material. But if, probably it would be interesting to read the book as well. Maybe he explains things in a more in-depth explanation there. But nevertheless, you can always find his piece of work for free, and hours of content as well. The thing I like about this guy is a lot of his work I actually base on my knowledge and opening of my own reality, because he's got the scientific data. And also, for individuals that may argue him to be only one scientific mind, he actually has the element of the meditation experience. So my understanding is based on when he was in his journey of trying to find out what the answers would be as well for science. He actually went into the realm of meditation, which, doesn't kind of, disconnected from science, although it's about interpretation. And that way he can see what the difference would be. Apparently he's got a lot of phenomenons where he can exit his body, which is the Oak phenomenon, which, for those of you who don't know, that's the out-of-body experience. Only few people can actually experience that, reaching a specific state of mind. He apparently states that he has, and what he states is everything in the universe or blocks of life is all virtual. Whether you're in this lifetime or you go on to the next one, the previous ones, it's all virtual. Which really kind of ties on to simulation theory. Like I mentioned on my previous episode, everything that you are made to do through consciousness is just to evolve the system. It found a way, and he was actually the one who stated that in the beginning, the system itself was one that did not want to evolve. As it evolved, it broke itself into pieces. This is my understanding, and it found a way to manifest itself through consciousness, because it's kind of like a way where, it's kind of when you want to think about the simulation theory thing, if it's an experiment of some sort, which I do believe it is, it's kind of like upgrading a system, right? If the system needs to be upgraded, it has to, get the upgraded versions. It updates just like your normal Windows updates or whatnot, whatever system you might use. I'm sure Apple is not any different. Android, whatever systems that you use, your iPhones, for example, whatever you use, there needs to be an update at all times. So it's kind of like that, right? It manifests itself into this updated version, and now it's at the state of consciousness. That's the way that it can kind of update itself and use that as a tool to keep updating. It's going to obviously keep constantly change, because our systems are known to do. They are known to always need to update to further enhance their performances. Now, he does mention something, which is entropy. If you look at his piece of work, he'll always mention one has to lower their entropy. It took me a while to understand what that is, but just reading the word entropy, if I were to state this, is technically a lot has to do with thermodynamics. So everything in the universe has entropy, and if you want to put that in the most simplest term, for example, everything decreases its value over time. So if you look at a fruit or vegetable, for example, I guess you can say entropy starts decreasing its value as it rips. Right now, how do you prevent that? Of course, you put it in the fridge where things don't grow to make it degrade. There are ways to prevent that from happening, but the main goal of what he's stating, and this is my understanding, is one has to lower their entropy. Now, at a high entropy state, right, this represents disorder, inefficiency, and chaos. And it reflects a state where resources or information are scattered and a lack of coherence. So it's kind of a lack of a structure that actually is bad for the system, or if not, at the least bad for the individual state of consciousness. Because what you're doing there with that type of model is you're actually speeding the process. If you want to say premature aging, if you want to compare that to the average human being that's trying to understand that. Now, low entropy, should I say, represents order, structure, and efficiency. And I'm reading all this based on what the definition would be. It reflects a state where resources or information are organized optimally for a specific purpose. For what that represents is the more you are organized, the more there is purpose. And if you ask me, the more there's common sense, because that's a big role to it. That means you're doing things logically and not chaotically. You're trying to prevent the chaos factor, right? And there is a specific purpose. And in order for the specific purpose, there has to be a specific order of structure. That's the way a society would or should perform if they want to reach higher levels in the structure, the Kardashev scale. Hopefully I'll get into that. That's like, if there are